Inside of the world of dealing with narcissistic abuse, there's a lot of different things that are going to affect you on a day-to-day basis, but none more than in the relationship and outside the relationship, the mental rumination, the intrusive thoughts, the constant thinking, worrying, anxiety that's going to happen when you're inside or even outside of a toxic relationship. That's what we're going to talk about today is what do you do with all of those thoughts? What do you do with those thoughts that keep plaguing you over and over and over again? And how do we actually get them to stop? I want to try to give you a couple practical tools today to help you in the area of your healing and in your growth inside of how do you actually heal from narcissistic abuse, from the toxic guy, from the toxic love that you're currently trapped in right here, right now. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness of narcissistic abuse, to help people heal, grow, and transform their lives to become different than who they actually are right now, being stuck or trapped in the toxic relationship to actually find freedom. So I work with women who are trapped in toxic relationships, showing them how to get out, showing them how to have the confidence and the clarity and the certainty to be who they're called to be. I also work with a select group of men that have shown up as the toxic ones, as the abusive ones, the liars, the cheaters. And with those men, we work on building up how do we actually get honest? How do we actually work through this one step at a time to find freedom from their own lies, the things that they keep putting on themselves? If any of this resonates with you, you can go to rawmotivations.com to be able to learn more today. When we talk through narcissistic abuse and healing, the intrusive thoughts and the constant rumination, like you can't stop thinking about this person, is prevalent. You find this in the relationship where everything is focused on him. You don't have time to be able to focus on your needs, your wants, your desires, your emotions, your feelings. All that's an inconvenience. But then even out of the relationship, you find yourself waking up in the morning and it's the first thing you think about. Throughout the day, you just have these thoughts, kind of like these waves of nausea that just come into your life, sidelining you from what you actually need to do. You're trying to go to work and you're trying to focus and you can't focus. You're trying to be present with the kids and you're not present at all. Your mind is in a completely different place, wondering, reminiscing, thinking, questioning. Maybe you could have done something different. Maybe you could have done something better. But then you get to the end of the day and you're mentally exhausted and drained because your mind's been spinning 24/7. And you get to the end of the day and you get ready to lay down and put your head on the pillow and you still are thinking about it. Is this you? A lot of people struggle with thinking about a narcissist, thinking about the toxic guy 24/7. So how do we actually stop thinking about this person? Well, it's not just to tell yourself, stop thinking about it, right? That would be nice and it would be the easiest way if we could just be like, don't think about that. We do want you to build a habit of that. But at the same time, it's kind of back and forth because if you keep telling yourself to stop thinking about this person, all your heart and your consciousness is going to hear is just to keep thinking about this person. Because your heart and your soul can't figure out the negative. They don't understand when you're trying to actually predict or say, hey, this is what I want. I don't want to be poor. And then your mind hears, I will want to be poor. I don't want to think about him. I want to think about him. So we have to be able to help condition inside of a positive way. But sometimes in the moment, a quick stop can be very helpful. And what I mean by that is you have to jar yourself out of reality. Think for a moment, you're getting ready to go back to him. You're getting ready to send him a text when you've been no contact for 2 weeks or for 6 months. And in that moment, we have to create a quick stop. And that when we create a quick stop, we create something that's a jarring factor. A factor that you sit down, you write down 25 things that he did to you. You sign your name at the bottom and you say, I willfully acknowledge and admit that I'm happy to have all of these abusive things happen to me again. Well, that's what you're agreeing to when you actually break the no contact and you go back to this person. It's a stop. It's something to be like, whoa, wait a second. Do I actually want that? I don't want that. I'm not going to contact him today. We'll deal with that tomorrow, right? And just helping you build up the confidence inside of you. So sometimes you're going to have thoughts that are going to come into your head that you're going to have to learn how to tell yourself, stop. And not stop and obsessively be like, don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it, because that's all you think about, right? But just stop. Redirect to something else. Now, it might be a verbal cue. Sometimes people have these where they'll just be like, stop. And they're like telling themselves to stop. It might be something that you do, that like a tapping, a focus, whatever it might be to try to get your mental shift to happen. We have to shift your mind faster and faster each time. So you might have a moment where you think about them and then 5 minutes later, you're like, oh, I'm thinking about them. I should probably stop. Well, then do that. Stop, focus on something else. And then we want to start shortening that gap. So it might be 5 minutes, then it might be 2 minutes, then it might be 30 seconds, then it might be like, wait a second, I'm thinking this, stop. We want to start conditioning your mind that that thought is not okay to think. that thought is not helpful. It doesn't actually serve you, it doesn't actually help you move forward. I remember listening in one of Ed Milet's podcasts that one of the things he talked about was scratching the record. Okay, most people are like, what's the record, right? Scratching a CD. Most people are like, what's a CD? So that's why we don't use this illustration that much anymore. So I normally use this piece called mental shredding. And mental shredding is a huge piece that's trying to be able to work on taking whatever image, thought, idea, and destroying it in your mind. Now, you can do it however you want, but I'm going to give you an illustration. So say you're thinking about this guy 24/7 and you're remembering a certain instance. You're remembering a date, a moment, a time. I want you to think just inside your mind, inside your mind's eye, I want you to think for a moment. Actually, let's do it together, okay? Wherever you are, unless you're driving, take a pause and just close your eyes for a moment. And close your eyes, and I want you to think, what is like the main thought that comes up that you just can't get rid of? It might be a question, it might be a thought. Did he love me? Did he care? But I want you to try to think of like one particular instance. Maybe an instance that was really good, but then you found out he was cheating on you. Maybe an instance where it was a really good date, but then he was screaming in the car. I just want you to take an instance. And inside that instance, I want you to imagine in your mind's eye that you have this instance in your mind, and in your mind's eye, you're sitting at a table. And you're sitting at a table and you take a piece of paper and the piece of paper is in front of you and you pick up the pencil or the colored pens beside you and you just start drawing. And what you're drawing is you're drawing this situation. You're drawing this moment. You're drawing this feeling. You're drawing this thought. Everything that's coming to your mind right now, you're just drawing it out. This might be a big canvas of something. It could be you writing a few things down. It could be you just putting some stick figures together of like, oh, this is what it is. But in your mind's eye, you can draw anything, right? You're an amazing artist. So I just want you to sit for a moment, just draw whatever you're thinking in the moment, whatever that intrusive thought, the thing that keeps repeating and coming back to you over and over and over again. Okay, once you do that, now you have a piece of paper in front of you that has this picture or this image in front of you. I want you to take this and I want you to get up from the table and take it, and over to the corner, there is a shredding machine. It's just a shredding. It's going to chop up that piece of paper into a bazillion little pieces. Cross-cut, criss-cross, all the different pieces is going to cut it up the best that you've ever seen anything cut up before. So you walk over to it and you actually take this image and you take this paper with the image on it and you stick it into the shredder. And when you stick it into the shredder, you actually watch as it goes through the shredder and actually dissolves it. Now, it might seem kind of silly, but the reason why I'm saying to do this is because what you're actually trying to do is you're trying to be able to slowly train your brain and your mind that that thought is not a thought that you want to entertain. That thought is not something that is actually a good thought in your mind. It's not a thought that's actually helpful to you. It's not serving you to move forward in your healing process. So you have to shred it. Now, you might come back to that situation and shred it again. And you might come back to that situation and shred it again. You might do it several times. But in doing it, what's going to happen is you're going to slowly start to retrain your mind of what is acceptable and what is not. Just like you being, stop, don't think of that, right? Stop, redirect into something else. Because we're trying to be able to help you actually condition and train you. Think of it for a moment. Inside the relationship, you have been trained for a long period of time. He was very particular in how he trained you and how he conditioned you and how he formed and made sure that different things happen certain ways in the relationship to control you. This has been the norm. This has been how he's progressed, like over and over and over, where he slowly trained you not to speak up for yourself, not to actually show up. He's trained you to be inauthentic to you because you can't express who you actually are. He's trained you to isolate from other people and to self-isolate because he hasn't told you no. He's just made it hell whenever you spend time with other people. He's already trained your emotions. He's already trained your feelings. He's already trained you to come back like a dog returning to its vomit over and over and over and over again. And he has you in his grips and he has you in a cycle. So, with all that being said, that's the reason why we need to start mentally shredding different images and different thoughts to be able to start training your mind the other way. To start training, hey, I don't want to think about this, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually mentally release it. I'm actually going to mentally shred it in my mind to actually let it go. And when you let it go, it starts to give you capacity of being like, if I don't have that taking up 5 minutes of my day, then what can I focus on? I can focus on something else. I could do something else. There could be a different perspective. And so you start growing in your perspective of what you can actually do, what you can actually accomplish, and what actually opens up for you. All we're doing inside the initial stage of healing from narcissistic abuse is oftentimes creating buffers and creating barriers and creating opportunity for you to be able to actually get slightly more clear and slightly more time with you versus always thinking about him. He already took up all of your life. He already took up so many years. He already wasted so much money, so much time, so many moments. It's time for you to stop letting him have control over you now. Because even though you might be separated from this guy, you're still thinking about him so much, he still has a big hold on you. And in fact, you're still trauma bonded. You're still stuck in the relationship, even though you're out of the relationship. Because you can't get him out of here. And right now, he's just living as free real estate in your mind, messing up your thought process, slowing you down, acting like sand in the gears of who you're actually called and created to be. So inside all of this, I want you to consider, tell yourself to stop, but also get to a place where you start to shred the thoughts that you don't want to have. You start to condition and retrain your mind that this is not a thought that I want to think. I'm going to think something else. And bring something else that's a positive. Bring something else that's a good distraction. Not a coping mechanism, but a good distraction helping you move forward to who you're called to be. If this resonates with you today and you're like, hey, this makes sense, let me start doing this. I would love to be able to hear how it's working for you. And I'd also love to be able to hear how I can help you move forward. Because the goal inside of this is trying to help liberate women that are trapped in toxic relationships to find freedom. You're stuck in toxic love and you're like, I don't even know what this is anymore. I want to help provide clarity so you can actually get free, mentally and emotionally. So you're empowered to figure out, do you stay in this relationship or do you go? That decision's on you. But you can't make that decision if you're stuck in the fog, the confusion, and you feel emotionally and mentally drained. So let's work on that today. If I can help with that, go to rawmotivations.com today.